the first part of our presentation, which is going to be rankings. So just so that everybody knows how we are going to run through everything today, we will start off with rankings, similar to what James alluded to just then, for the ranked space, which is going to encompass the level 1 through 7 tournaments in the junior space. And then we will segue over into ratings and the ITF World Tennis Number. So, just want to start off with some key definitions. Just so everybody is aware, especially when it comes to rankings. Interestingly enough, it's a little bit of a misnomer in that each Wednesday, when we are running what everyone knows as the rankings, it is actually the national standings lists that we are doing. So, just so everybody is aware, those are weekly lists that we run, and it's done on a 52-week rolling basis. All right. So that's why whenever we kind of abbreviate that as the NSL, the National Standing List, that's what that is. Now, the ranking is actually done once a year. So when we are doing that, it happens in January, and it is a 1 year just snapshot. All right. So just so everybody is aware of that, there's going to be the tentative year-end ranking list that we publish on January 5th. And then additionally, that final year-end ranking that is published on January 20th. That happens each year like clockwork. So again, this is just kind of one of those fun little tidbits for folks to know and understand that I know we constantly talk about rankings, but just so you are all aware, in reality, we actually only truly do rankings once a year. And then standings are what we are running each week and have that rolling standing. Now, seating lists. All right, so seating lists, you do have a singles seating list and a doubles seating list. So for both of those are going to have your 6 best singles results and then your 6 best doubles results. Those are different from the combined NSL, which is going to have your top 6 singles and top 6 doubles both in there. And then for additionally, you'll have that 15% of the doubles. All right. And just as I was alluding to, that best 6 right there. So that's going to be the top 6 for singles and top 6 for doubles. Now, your player record. All right, this is going to be probably my favorite piece there. That's when you're going over onto USTA.com and it's going to show all of your results and your ranking points for that past 12 months. So if you're ever going on to USTA.com and you go and look at your player profile, you can see all of that tournament history on there. Okay. So our friendly little penguin is studying up on all of the key definitions a good bit of the time. All right. So I know I was already hitting on this just a little bit, but just to dive somewhat deeper into it, in terms of rankings versus standings, 'cause this is something that does confuse folks sometimes. So we do like to just make sure to clarify this a little bit, especially as we do start to get into the end of the year, where we will be doing the year-end rankings. So again, standings, that's going to be based on your ranking points that have been earned in the prior 12-month rolling period. Okay. And as a reminder for standings, those can be done counting up and counting down in your age divisions for juniors. And then your rankings are based on your ranking points that are earned in that one division during January to December in that calendar year. Okay. So I know I am much too old to be playing in the 18s anymore. However, we'll use that as an example that say I have a year-end ranking in the 18s. Okay. So I've been playing in the 18s all year long, then I will have those ranking points earned in that 1 year showing up on my year-end ranking. Okay. Now, for standings, if I was playing in 16s and 18s throughout the year, then those would be appearing on my NSL. Okay. Now, just as a reminder for the uh, year-end rankings, as I mentioned beforehand, we do publish those on the January 5th for tentative and then January 20th. That remains the same each year and is listed in the regulations. And James can keep me honest there if I if there's been any changes on that one. All right. Now, some of the other pieces that we do like to uh, just touch on with folks, PPR. So, if you haven't caught on yet, we do love abbreviations, all right? But one of the, oh, sorry about that. One of the things that I would love to talk through are the different abbreviations. So PPR and then PPW. So points per round and then points per win. Okay? What's the difference between the two of these, especially when it's applied to rankings? All right. So points per round, if you are looking at the junior regulations, then you will be able to see that there are certain ranking charts that are utilizing the points per round system, okay, in that chart. Additionally, there are some that use a points per win chart. All right. Now, for level 6 and level 7 in particular, those utilize a points per win. All right. So that is where they have an exact number of points allocated for each round of play. All right. And then points per round, if I'm playing, say, a feed-in consolation to the round of 16, and I get to a certain round, then I'm going to be assigned that point value based on that. All right. Now, for earning ranking points, you do earn ranking points for winning matches at, in singles and doubles at certain levels of events. So levels 1 through 7 sanctioned events. All right. Additionally, there is the bonus points for juniors, and that does have a separate set of requirements allocated to it. However, we aren't going to dive super deep into that today. That's probably going to be rankings 102. Right now, we're just kind of going into rankings 101. But additionally, similar to bonus points on the adult and wheelchair side, they have something known as participation points. So that's unique only to adult and wheelchair, just as bonus points are unique only to the junior side. Okay. And then the combined total on the national standings list, that's going to be unique again only to junior rankings. All right. Now, I'm going to pause there and see, Tommy, are there a good bit of questions coming in yet on this, or are we doing okay?
Yeah, we're okay for now. We can keep going.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right. So for the rankings. I want to make sure that we have enough time for Lauren to jump in on World Tennis Number. So I am going to pause real quick and just make sure that with the ranking lists and specifically ranking inquiries. So one of the things that we do have is a ranking team associated for any ranking issues that do come up. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, when you're going in and looking at player profiles, things like that, right? There are going to be instances where questions come up. All right. And if you're on USTA.com and you do notice something with your profile, you can actually report a rank issue very quickly. So please don't ever hesitate to flag those in. And that's another piece that we can walk through. Okay. But as of right now, because I know that we do want to leave time at the end for questions, Lauren, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Sophia. Did you want to answer the questions that came through so far, or do you want to leave those at the end?
I figured we'll leave them at the end and then run through. Does that
Sounds
work?
good to me. Yeah.
Perfect. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia. All right. So we just went through rankings, which Sophia did a fantastic job explaining. Um, the main question is, what's the difference between a ranking and a rating? You earn a ranking based off of how you perform in a tournament, right? So whether it's points per win, points per round, whether there's participation points, bonus points, all of that's encompassed on that. A rating is based off of how you did against each individual player. Um, so, like, your ranking is not going to get any better by losing, like, you lose both matches, but your rating might. So, just starting off with that, but let's get into the basics of the ITF World Tennis Number. Important to call out that ITF part, it is owned and operated by the ITF, the International Tennis Federation, but the US is their largest partner, and we sit on their steering committee, meaning we have a lot of influence and say on the product. So this is a free global rating from 40 to 1. 40 is the most beginner, 1 is the most advanced. There is a singles and doubles rating. If there's any NTRP league players or tournament players on here, you're familiar with NTRP, which is 1 rating for both singles and doubles. You have a separate one for WTN. This is updated every Wednesday. I sometimes get asked what time. If you're on the West Coast, this is updating before you wake up, unless maybe you wake up at 3 a.m, in which case, good for you. That's incredible. But yeah, it updates really early on Wednesday. There's tons of nations that are on board, 175. It's pretty much every nation that's out there, and close to 100 that are providing data. There's also a lot of countries that just don't have data to provide. So what you need to understand is that WTN is global and pretty much everyone is on it. And those that aren't, the ITF is working to get onboarded. A question around how is it calculated? The basics of an algorithm is that when you go to play a match, it has a predicted outcome already established. So for WTN, the predicted outcome is based off of sets. So I play Sophia. My WTN is one thing, hers is another. It predicts that she's going to beat me 2 sets to love. If I end up losing 2 sets to 1, meaning I won 1 set, I have now outperformed the algorithm. So I should probably expect to see my rating improve a little bit. And Sophia can probably expect to see her rating go down a little bit. I say a little bit because major swings aren't happening. And with any data product, the more data, the better. So the more matches played, the higher the confidence level. And of course, the more it's confident, the more it's probably going to be accurate. On to the next. Thank you. How WTN is being used. So just a few call outs here. It is the exclusive rating in the ranked junior space. It is also used for junior team tennis. It is the exclusive rating for college tennis. And it is part of the selection process for ITF juniors, professionals, and adults. So as of, it was actually on my birthday, April 21st of this year, WTN became an acceptance criteria for even professional events. So not that I anticipate tons of people here have players necessarily that want to go pro or on that pathway, but it's important to understand that whether your player is playing junior circuits and those matches are counting towards WTN, so long as it's green ball or yellow, or aspiring professional, getting this rating kind of puts you on this pathway where, it could be used for acceptances one day. The last thing is that the USTA has developed a high school platform and it is growing every year. And it's something where WTN, all matches are counting towards it. So Tommy can better speak to that about what's going on in your areas. And I actually think there's a number of people that aren't just in NorCal on this, but if you have any questions, I can get you specifics, but it's just important to know that in the high school space, WTM is becoming even more relevant as well. Often at this point I hear, okay, sounds great, but is it good? Or, a few years ago, I saw something, it looked wrong or bad. I pulled some stats to show you. I'm not going to run through each of them, but the level 4, 5s, and 6, those are all NorCal tournaments that I pulled today within the last couple weeks. And then the 1s and 2s, these are junior national events. So honestly, I didn't even try to find the best ones out there. I just tried to find different level events, and these are the numbers that came up. So as you can see, that's an incredible predictive accuracy around WTN. I will call out that when the matches are super close in WTN, so like anything under 1, when I throw out these numbers, I don't look at those, because to me, that's not the purpose of a rating. A 23.2 beating a 23.4 does nothing to me. I mean, that's just saying you guys are pretty much the same rating. They're different, but when you look at the accuracy of a rating, it's not meant to nitpick to the tiniest degree. So really great numbers here. Excited to show you. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on before getting into some really good questions we already have from you all is that, college tennis, of course, is all different levels. And there's a number of tools out there to help players understand where, maybe they have a good chance of playing at or where they want to aspire to play at based off of WTN. So if you've never been on the college tennis website, it's wearecollegetennis.com. On the bottom, there's a place where you can just type in, your WTN. It will show you teams that, you would kind of land like you'd be pretty similar on the roster. On the right-hand side, this is on USTA.com. If your player is within a certain range, and forgive me, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but we looked at the average college tennis players. We put this on the profile because a lot of people don't really understand that college tennis is for pretty much everyone, and there is a team out there. So again, lots of really cool resources out there, and it's just something to keep in mind. I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's another rating that has been out there for many years, and quite frankly, they've done a phenomenal job of really showing players, coaches, parents why a rating is really powerful. But I want to continue to remind you WTN is the exclusive rating of everything I've mentioned previously. So, yeah, that kind of rounds that out. Sophia, do you want to start with some ranking questions and then we'll kick it back to WTN? I know we've got a number in the registrations.
That would be phenomenal. Do you mind? I am not, just from my screen view, I'm not able to see. Do you mind reading a couple off to me? Is
You got
that
it. So this one is around how many total players can make the ranking. For example, players ranked 1 to 100 or to 1,000.
absolutely okay? That is a great question. So long as you have earned a ranking point, you will show up on the standings list. So the year-end ranking list is a little bit different, though. So there is a minimum number of players that can end up on the year-end ranking list, but first the standings list that we run each week. So long as you have a point, you can show up on the standings list that we run weekly. So.
Cool. Thanks, Sophia. Another one said, is there a handout for the rankings and standings, like the last slide regarding earning and then I think they're asking, could a junior have a ranking in 2 or more age groups?
Absolutely, yes. Technically, if age eligible, someone could be ranked in all four age divisions potentially. We do have some instances of that, so long as you have what's known as an anchor tournament. Um, but what I would strongly suggest is everybody who is listening right now, bookmark this page, customercare.usta.com. It is an amazing, amazing resource. And there is a chat bot in there as well that if you have some questions, so junior ranking FAQs, for instance, and if you were to type that into the little chat bot, it will populate some articles for you. Additionally, even for draw questions, it's fascinating. I've seen some folks with round robin uh, questions. So the new order of finish that is in the round robins, just using that as an example, round robin tie breaking procedures, putting that into the chatbot FAQ or chatbot as a question, and then it'll populate the new article for that. So definitely bookmark customercare.usta.com and you'll find some FAQs, so frequently asked question documents on both rankings, tournament information, all of that. It is a treasure trove of information.
That's a great call out, Sophia. Um, all right, next question. Does a 16-year-old player earn more points by playing in an 18s event?
Uh, there are not more points awarded for playing up, so no, that isn't necessarily a bonus in um, that respect. So.
Thanks for that one. I think that was it for rankings, but I'm sure more will come while we start talking ratings. So,
Awesome. All right.
um, I can run through this since I'm looking at the screen, if that's good. Um, why is UTR matches not counted for UST ranking? Oh, I guess this is ranking, but vice versa. Well, I think you meant rating. So USTA does send all of our matches to UTR for the benefit of the UTR rating. Um, the question is why aren't we doing the opposite? Um, that could come one day. It's definitely not off the table, but at this time, from a competitive standpoint, I think between our our tournaments and leagues, we certainly have a lot of great data there, but like I said, definitely not off the table. And I take this as interest in that. So perhaps more to come next year's rating and ranking webinar. Next question. How is the algorithm for WTN different from UTR? So I'll continue to reference UTR. As I mentioned, they're a USTA Connect partner. Nothing wrong with it. I don't like to, put us head to head too much. But it's important for you to know the basics. So I would say, first off, it's a 40-1 scale versus a 16 or a 1-16. While that's not an algorithm per se, I think that's important to call out because I think people who've been around for years really intimately know what like a 1 point difference in UTR is. And then they see a 1 point difference from WTN and they're like, well, that doesn't look right. But it's a 2.5 time difference scale. So again, I just really want to call out that scale difference. A couple things of note. The set difference. So with WTN, we're looking at sets, and with UTR, you're looking at games. Another thing, and I'm speaking to what I know about UTR, if they've changed anything since I've last read things, feel free to jump in and tell me I'm wrong. But UTR looks at just I think it's the last 30 or something matches. WTN looks at everything back to 2016. Of course, the more recent, the more weighted, but it's not just it's not just one number. And I think people actually really like that because sometimes people have a really good match that they think might be falling off, maybe their UTR, and they might not want to play because they're trying to hold on to it. So for WTN, that's not an issue. If you have more specifics around that, let me know. But those are the big ones. Can we see that WTN match prediction? That's not something available, quite frankly, because it would be too different. You know what I mean? Like there's not like a set thing. I know Sophia's, I know mine. There's a lot of different factors there. Personally, maybe I'm a little old school. I also think it detracts from the purpose of competition, which is really just whoever you're in front of, your purpose is to beat them. So whether you're in the L1, finals or the backdraw of a level 6, we really the purpose of playing is so much more than a rating. So not a bad question whatsoever. I'm just going to go on a little spiel about that every time I talk about ratings. So WTN doesn't account if a set is lost by 7-5 or 6-0. There's no difference as far as the impact to WTN goes. That is correct. Lots of differences of opinions there. And quite frankly, I think both are very valid. But yeah, that's just that after loads of testing and research, the ITF decided to go with that mechanism, and it has been great. And I've also heard from some that they actually like the sets for a number of reasons. But I guess that's up to you to determine if you like the philosophy or not. I'm going to keep running through these. If a player's singles WTN has low confidence, what's the best way to assign their WTN? Use a higher confidence doubles rating if they have one, or estimate based on close matches with similar ranked players. Trey, this is a really good question. In college, I had a teacher that said the answer to everything is it depends and it's complicated. So I'm going to use that phrase right there. Because I think it depends on the cohort. So I'll give it a very real example. Junior Orange Ball, IMG Academy Championships, these high level tournaments are going on or just finished up. And you had players from all around the world. And there was some really, really, really good players who didn't have a high confidence WTN. And they might have had a medium confidence, I think. And what the tournament committee decided was, based off of the limited information they had on that player, they're going to treat that player as high confidence. And it ended up working out well for that. So I think you use your discretion on the type of competition and the information you have around them, um, and the type of competition it is. I know that like for JTT, one of the things that we built into the system um, some years ago was to not look at low confidence players because the risk there was too high and maybe putting a player into a band that they're just not ready for. So happy to always collaborate on individual cases, but that's just where my head's at. Um, hope no one's getting sick of my voice like I am. Uh, Speak to what is being done with regard to green ball players transitioning to yellow ball. They're coming into yellow ball with way too low of a WTN and are not performing anywhere near their WTN rating. New players just coming out of green ball are getting seeded in tournaments, yet getting killed in their matches. I know this person that submitted it says anonymous. I'd love examples of this. I had heard that years ago, that green ball players were rated way too high. And based off of that feedback, algorithm adjustments were made. So if this is something very relevant now, I'm not promising that changes are happening, but it will get looked at and seen, is this a one off, or based off of your feedback, maybe it's something that's happening a bit more. So if somebody, whether they're section staff or parents, want to provide some examples via email to me, I would love to look into it, but can't really speak to more. Apologize about that.
Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
I have one real quick if that's okay. James just sent me one. Is
Yeah.
that okay if I jump in with one real quick? Um, for rankings, I just wanted to clarify this in case there's still some confusion on this for rankings counting up and down. So there is a document that we'll make sure to send out to everybody afterwards. And if you do want to search this as well, it's called the Overview of the National Junior Ranking System. Just to clarify for everybody, with ranking points counting up and counting down. So for counting down, anytime you do earn those points, they will count back down if you're playing in an older age division. And then additionally, for points counting up, you will have the 20% of points earned in a division count up. So just to make sure that that one is answered, because I do believe somebody had asked for their child that is in the 12 and under, and then they were counting up in the 14s, 16s. So now just to clarify though, with the counting down, generally with that, I believe I had alluded to it earlier with the anchor tournament, but if I am in the 16s and predominantly playing in 16s tournaments for the most part, right? To make sure that my points do count down, I do need to at least play one tournament in the 14s to anchor myself to that 14s list and still have those points count down, pending I'm age eligible. All right, so that's kind of where we call it the anchor tournament, but just so there's that clarification there on that one. Okay, hope that one helps a little bit.
That's so important. I'm thinking back to my ranking, my junior comp days, and people wondering why they're not on certain quota lists and they didn't have that anchor tournament. So I have a few more to go, but before I jump back into that, James, is there any just things on your mind that maybe this group should know from your perspective, being in that juniors department here at USTA National?
For sure. Well, you have both done a phenomenal job explaining a lot of things, and I seem like I learn it. I learn something every single time I'm on the phone with you two as well. So I appreciate the thorough explanation. Couple of things that just as I was looking through some questions that came through beforehand and just hearing about things too. One thing was talking about the point table. for the ranked junior events. And I believe on one of the slides there was the USTA Players Resource page was listed, and that's another one to bookmark as well. There's so much great information on there in regards to the National Junior Calendar, the point table, the regulations, talks about a whole different thing, a whole lot of different things on there as well. So be sure to check out that because that's going to give you all the information you're going to need regarding point tables and points per win or points per round and which tournaments are on there too. So check that out. The other question I saw on there was talking about ITFs, and maybe that might be something that you'll look to in the future as well. But we do give points to the ITF events that are in the US. So, for example, we just had the J500 Orange Bowl that happened this last week, and any USA players playing in that event, they get points for playing in that, and so that is considered a level one point event for us. However, we also give points out for the J30s and 60s. Those are level four points. That's actually changing next year to level four. It's currently a level three. J100s are level threes and J200s are level twos. So just so you all know about, we do give ITF points out on that side of things. And the last thing I'll touch on is regarding there was a question about Easter Bowl and selections. So I'll just touch on maybe level one selections real quick. There is on that resource page as well a great level one cutoff. So you have an idea of where the cutoffs were from the last year. So it won't be this year's currently, they'll be uploaded in the new year. But for 2024, we give all those details of level one cutoffs on that resource page. It also depends on the entries, right? So some years we have really strong um, entry lists, some a little bit weaker. So it depends on that. And so we use the national standings lists for that, and in addition to some other tournaments. So for our clay court nationals, national championships, indoors and winters, we also take in quota selection as well. And I think quota is probably something we want to discuss in 102 for a later point, but I just want to make sure that there is that there. And again, on that resources page, there is a level one selection criteria, so you can understand all those details right there as well. So, but yeah, hopefully that helped touch on a few questions that came in previously.
Thanks, James. Yeah, this webinar could be probably a full day's worth of just so many details. Let's see, the best. Tommy, what time are we going till, just to figure out how to manage?
2-1, so 15 more minutes.
Okay. Sophia, did you want to take over? I know if we don't get to your question, we're absolutely going to get to you via email. But I think you wanted to show on like USTA.com how to navigate that. So should we turn it back to you?
Sure thing, if that is okay.
And I can answer some questions just via text as you go.
Perfect. Yeah, give me one moment. And I'm actually going to pull up a profile. So, yes. All right. I just need to switch screens real quick. So, okay. All right. Can you see my Google Chrome screen? Okay. Perfect. All right. So, just kind of shifting gears, we did want to walk through kind of what I was talking about earlier for viewing the ranking page and that player profile with what I was talking about. I did want to just show everybody an example. And I do understand that a lot of us default to our phone view. So do bear with me that I understand this may be a little bit different from what it would be on your mobile. However, the overall concept will be very similar. So normally what you're going to do when you're on USTA.com is you'll navigate up to that play tab and then either search players if you already know your child or your own player, your USTA ID. If not, I know a lot of us default straight over to the ranking page. So junior rankings. And then what I was mentioning earlier about reporting a ranking issue, this is that main hub and screen for where you can do that. So right here, when you're on the junior ranking page, if you go up here to report a rank issue, this is where you're able to do it very, very quickly and easily. It's going to take you straight over to a form that you can complete. And from there, it will allow you to submit something over to our trained agents, and they will then get back to you within 24 hours to let you know uh, that someone is looking into the issue and keep you apprised on what's occurring. Okay. Additionally, kind of what we were mentioning earlier with the bonus points. I know that this is going to be a little bit more of the 102 piece, but if you are curious about bonus points, that information is here. And let's see, additionally, for the ranking point tables, kind of what we were touching on earlier, you can see based off of what draw type, all of that information is here, okay? And what point values you should be earning. Okay, now what I'm going to go ahead and do is pull up Northern California, and we're going to look at a player profile real quick. So I am going to actually, Tommy, I'm going to pull an audible. I'm presuming, is Ty still playing?
Not tournaments, leagues only.
Only leagues? Okay. All right, no worries. Okay, so we're just going to pull a player right here off the top just so that everybody can see what it does look like. So once we're here, you can go ahead and select your player profile. You'll scroll down and then you click on results. Once you're on results, what we were all mentioning earlier about this showing all of your results, this is going to be different from when you actually select the under the drop down your tournaments and then the ranking list that is associated with it. Okay, so I'm going to do girls 12 national standings list combined, and then the published date of 12/10, so last week. This is actually me looking at my top six. So both top six singles and top six doubles. And notice now I can actually see what points are going into my ranking list. Okay. Previously, I was just looking at my player history and my just the overall player profile. Now I'm actually looking into what occurred with my rankings. Okay. This is much different, and I can actually go in, see the points, and see what draw it was. Okay, so this is just something to keep in mind with all of that. Now, this again, if you're on player search and you want to go to search players here and you know what your USTA ID is, 201-202-1835. So I'm going to go look up myself. I can go pull up my ID, go to results. We won't pull that one up, but I can go and pull up unsanctioned tournaments and go back and look at that. Okay. Now, do keep in mind that this is just play history versus previously what we were looking at was actual ranking history. Okay. So when you are on here, though, usually what ends up happening is we will publish ranking lists, or as we were talking about earlier, the standings every Wednesday. They get published on Pacific time, usually anywhere from 10 to 1 p.m. generally. And what will end up happening is this page here is going to be loaded in first. However, when you go on to your actual player profile, that history is going to take a couple of hours to load in. All right, so just make sure that you have a little bit of patience after this starts to populate in before reporting that rank issue. All right, because generally, if it hasn't loaded in by mid-afternoon, that's when you can start kind of flagging something. Because at that point, we understand that there may be a longer delay. But just keep that in mind that usually, given the sheer amount of data that's going through, because we are processing a couple 100,000 players through the system to try and get their play history in. It's going to be for both junior, adult, NTRP, family, and wheelchair. Getting the lists up isn't as big of a task as it is getting all of their player history in. But from that viewpoint, I'm going to go ahead and pause and see if viewing the player profiles had any questions pop up. Are we looking okay?
Yeah, Sophia, I think, and this is something that we had chatted about with Tommy and team earlier. It's just the understanding the two different views and why can't you see everything and this and that. And if you've been part of the USTA family for a while now, you know that we take all feedback around improving customer experience very seriously. So thanks for sharing, I think. But Sophia, yeah, it was more like, I think, kind of like how it used to be on Tennis Link. Like, and we
Absolutely.
see everything at once. But
Oh, yes. And then one piece, while we still have a little bit of time, if everyone has a moment, what I'm going to do is just, I do want to show everyone this just because we were talking about this earlier with the questions on customer care. So this is what customer care looks like, just so you all can see real quick. Uh, and this is what I was mentioning earlier with that little widget over here. It is very easy to utilize. So if I were to say junior rankings, if we're off to the side in terms of a question and say where you're looking for that up, let's see, junior standings. Let's see. Oh, so it's wanting me to do a junior membership just to get started because we need that to play a tournament. So real quick, we're going to do junior. There we go. And junior standings list FAQ. So all of the information that you are looking for is right here. In addition to a video on all of the various ways that ranking points can be assigned. This is a little bit, I know it can be a little bit lengthy. It's about a 10-minute video with the godfather of rankings, Lou Brewer, but he does go into all the various um, methods for assigning points. So I would recommend just taking the time to look at this. And additionally, there's, various ways to just go through here and learn all of the different pieces about the rankings, bonus points, and those pieces. So definitely, like I mentioned earlier, this is kind of a treasure trove of information. Oh, but all right. Go ahead and stop sharing on that piece and then see if we have anything else question-wise.
Hey, Sophia, I'll actually take the
Yeah, go for it, please.
rankings related, and James might speak to this more better. I just putting my junior comp hat back on. There's a question around, and coach hat. If we want to play 16s, level fives or fours, does it mean when kid is near or at 14, they need to start playing for 16s, L6? And I think I just kind of want to call out how personal that decision is. I think the points up and points down are, or I know that the purpose behind that is to not pressure players to have to play up quicker than they're comfortable with, and also give them a way to get into that. So for example, I'm a pretty strong 14s player. I shouldn't have too much trouble getting into 16s, let's call it level sixes, because I at least have enough points counting up. So again, I don't know where you are in the country, whoever wrote this, every section is different, every player is different, but I think that's why understanding the points, the rankings points, is really helpful to guide you. But if you have further questions, I know section staff are always super helpful if it can't be answered just by, Q&As and such.
Yeah, Lauren, I think I agree there. I think working with your section on that and working with your coaches too on where they think you are is really important. Not to kind of get too, we could go down a rabbit hole on that question. I'm sure we could, but um, work with your coaches on, do they think you're ready to play up? So, or you stay, in the 14s. We're always big believers in, the system and staying in the system. Obviously, it's there for a reason. So that's why it's there. But definitely work with your section and your coaches if you feel like it's time to age up. Tommy, how are we doing with things?
We have 1 more minute.
I think we've answered every question that came through and most of the ones preloaded as well. So, do you want to hand it back to you to close out here?
Sure. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending our webinar today. If you have any extra questions, you can feel free to give me a call, or you can send me an email at ttu@norcal.usta.com. My number also is 510-263-0447. Thanks, Lauren, Sophia, and James for speaking today, and thanks everyone for attending. Okay, have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Bye.
all.